Giselle, I am already so excited about this conversation. I cannot wait to hear everything that is wild and wonderful in your world. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Wendy. It's such a pleasure to be here to speak with you and just to really get into how I'm saying yes to myself in this season.
Yes, yes, and more. Yes, I, I just have to take a moment. I know I do this all the time, so sweet listener, bear with me. I can't believe I'm at work right now. I can't believe that it is my job to shine a spotlight on fabulous women and their fabulous yes. And I love that I created this job for myself. And it's
Yes,
not
that's great.
right. Like, and I feel like job's not the right word, but like this work, this calling, this invitation, this inspired action, this mission of goodness is a yes that I say to myself. And I love that it is um, growing, that that impact is far and wide, that the ripple effects I don't even ever know about. And I'm certain that so much of those same feelings are what you're experiencing in the things that you are putting out in the world. Obviously, you've got recognition and things that you do hear back. You get feedback, you have
Right.
reviews, all of these things, but there's so much more that we never hear about firsthand, but we feel energetically, and it motivates us and inspires us to do even more.
I totally agree with you. You know, you really don't understand the impact that you have on people's lives until someone say it. I usually people ask me, why are you so calm about things? This is such a big deal. And I'm like, okay. I guess it's because I'm a very humble person and I'm very intentional about what I do and the goals I set and the impact that I want to make in this world. And so, I just really focus on putting my energy into everything that I do. And once I accomplish that mission, I mean, if I'm making the impact, great. But you're so right. We don't understand the ripple effect that we're making in the world. So long as we're making it, I'm happy.
Right. And I think you're the key word that you said about intention. And it is we started with what we desired, the intent we had behind the thing that is calling us next, whether it's a book, whether it's some other beautiful big thing. And then as we listen for the guidance of what the next steps are, and then we take the inspired action, and then it plays out. I can understand why people would be saying to you, "Oh my gosh, this is such a big deal. Why aren't you jumping up and down?" And yet to you, it's like a movie you're watching that you were also the screenwriter and the director and the producer of. So, yes, it's thrilling to watch it unfold. And there
Yes.
are so many elements of surprise and delight in that unfolding, but you're not surprised. It's not a mystery. Like you started this and
Right.
you started it by setting an intention. It's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. And you said something ago that just really resonated with me. Uh, it's like you said you're just being guided. And it's really true. I guess when you're just being guided, you're just being obedient and you're just doing what you're supposed to do. So it doesn't really seem like a big deal. It's just like it's like walking. You're just putting one step in front, one foot in front of the other, and you're just going on the journey. And so for me, I think that everything that I do, that's just how it is. Like I set my goals and I just really listen and let myself be guided as to what I'm supposed to fulfill in this life, what my path is supposed to be. I've heard many times like uh it would be such a sad thing if you die and you never fulfill the thing that you were born to do.
Mm.
And I don't want to be that person.
Right, for sure.
It's sometimes it's hard figuring out what you are meant to do because you're so good at so many things, but there is something, or maybe
Yes,
some things
for
that
sure.
we're all meant to do. And you mentioned about finding such joy and satisfaction in this podcast and just being here. And maybe this is your calling. This is what you were called to do. And so you find that joy in it. And I think for everyone, when you really find that, it doesn't seem like work. It's just a pleasure. You can't wait to do it. You can't wait to get up every morning to do it. And that's what I really want to be doing for the rest of my life. I just
Yes.
really want to enjoy every moment of what I do, no matter how difficult it is. I just want to make that impact.
Yes, I love that so much. And it's so resonant with how I'm living my life as well. And what it's interesting for me, I don't know how long you've just been a person who follows their bliss and follows the guidance. I thought I was, like we only know what we know.
Yes.
And then newer revelations, you learn more things so you can do more things.
Mhm.
And in that, it's so fascinating. I've noticed that sometimes the guidance, and I'm talking for me, I'm referring to God. I'm feel
Mhm.
very connected to the divine, and
Yeah.
I set intention about connection on a daily basis. It's very important to me. But the guidance feels so fun and so delicious and so giddy and delightful that sometimes I try to make it harder
Yeah.
because there's this conditioning, this old story that says, oh, listen here, little lady, you can't just twirl around and
Yeah.
point at all the things you want and then have them. Like, what? You can't do that. That's not allowed. That's not, you got to get your head out of the clouds. And I'm like, wait a minute. And it's so funny because
Mhm.
those comments are not like no one's saying that to me. I don't, they might be saying it, but no one's actually saying it to
Saying it
me.
to you.
I'm just making up, I am conjuring up my own resistance to
Yeah.
having the life that I desire. I trust I'm not the only person that does that. And I'm just wondering if that happens for you, how does that show up and how are you like talking yourself back to the reality that is a capital R that you do get to be and do and have whatever you desire?
So you're not by yourself by any means, and you talked about not finding it all at once. And I don't think anybody really finds it all at once because, we start off in life, you figure you get out of high school, you get your first job, then you may go to college and you get a job after that. And you just kind of, it's like you're finding your way, you're doing different jobs along the way, and you're really figuring out, okay, what gives me joy, what doesn't. And I know I went through that and I was good at everything that I did. Um, but they weren't giving me that joy. They weren't, I would do them for a while and yes, it was it was good. But after a while I was just like, I don't know that I want to do this for the rest of my life. And so it's like you keep searching after that thing, what it is you want me to do, Lord. And like you, I'm a religious person. I believe in listening for his voice, listening for the messages that he sends to people. Because sometimes, he's speaking to us quietly. And like you said, we're like, no, that can't be him because we have different plans for our lives. We want to do different things. And we're like, no, I don't want to do that. That can't be it. And so he finds a way to really shake us into reality like, look, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And oftentimes it's not a good way. It's nothing pleasant. But we come to the realization, and that's kind of how it is for me. It took
Mm.
me getting injured, it took me having to be at home and just being quiet, just really being quiet and hearing from him that, okay. this is the path I want you to go. And this is what I want you to be doing right now. You've done all those things. All right. Listen for my voice. Listen to what you want me to do. And so when I really started going down that path, things just started becoming clearer. But you're absolutely right that we stop our own blessings, right? Because we're so busy doing what we want to do.
Mhm.
We want this, we want that. We want the things that we can see in front of us. And very often the things that he's trying to offer us are the things that we can't see, right?
Mm.
So it's about having faith. It's about having that connection that you speak about. It's about having that belief that he wants the best for us. And it doesn't matter how difficult it seems and how difficult the journey may be. At the end of it all, you're going to have that satisfaction that you seek. You're going to have that joy unspeakable, and you're going to really reap the rewards of your work. And
Right.
so that has been my journey. That's kind of how I reason with it now, that okay, I have to trust him. I really have to surrender and trust that everything
Right.
he wants me to do is for my good.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And what I have found is that my surrender is not that, oh, I have to surrender this dream that I had because I'm probably not going to get it. And I just
Yeah,
need to trust that there's something better. It's actually what I'm learning for me. I am surrendering my resistance,
yeah,
my arguments for why I can't have it yet or why it needs to be harder. And sometimes what I'm considering quote unquote hard is either one of two things. It's either uncomfortable and
yeah,
unfamiliar, like that's a calling me to grow, calling me to expand kind of hard. The other kind of hard is because I've somehow determined that I'm the one that's supposed to figure out how
yeah,
I'm going to get to this thing that I want. And the how is not my responsibility. That is on God's to-do list.
yeah,
My job is what I want and why I want it. And that continues to be fine-tuned as I go. Like, oh, I thought it was this. I liked 80% of that. So, what can I take with me and learn
yeah,
to go to the next thing? So, it is a consistent trial and error, a feedback loop of what to do, but the who, the when, the where, the how, that is all on God's to-do
yeah,
list. My to-do list is the what and the why, and then the listening for what my guidance is today. Not
exactly.
what is the 5-year plan, what is the documentation I can hand to the person at the bank or the person in my house or the person that I've determined is the gatekeeper of my dream life. You know,
Yeah,
it's this reframing of we do we do get to be the person that we're being called to be. And we get to do that in a way that is gracious and expansive and is impactful. And we get to invite the people that are close to us
yes,
into that with us. We get to invite them to create their own dreams, and we get to cheer them on as well. And then we just get to beautifully bask in the impact of that.
exactly, exactly. And the surrender that's hardest for me, and it's exactly the one you described. It's getting out of the way and just letting go and let God, not trying to fix it.
Right.
Just letting him just say, Lord, you fix it, you do it, you handle it. Because when I try to fix it, when I try to figure out the how, when, who, where, why, that's when things are so much more difficult. You become stressed, you become, it just affects you in so many ways. And so it's taken a lot for me to learn, but I'm happy to say that I'm at that point in my life where I'm truly surrendering. I'm just truly like something comes into my mind for me to worry about it, I say, Lord, fix it. Lord, handle it. Lord, I just surrender it. And then I just try not to think about it anymore.
Right.
If it comes back into my mind, I just repeat the same thing. And so I don't give it the energy to kind of
Yes.
fluster into anything else,
Yes, yes, yes. And I
and
think that we're taught that that's irresponsible,
yeah,
that it's very important that you be involved and that you be informed and you get your nose in there and make sure that all that's wrong with the world is righted before you can go do this great thing. And it's
yeah,
just not how it works. It's exactly
no,
what you said. Where our energy is focused, that's going to grow.
yes,
So if you are looking at something that you don't want and you're just saying how much you don't want it and how awful it is that it's here and how much better it'll be when it's gone, all you're doing is getting water and sunshine on that thing that you don't want. So really handing it off to God like you do, and then shifting your focus, shifting the
yes,
direction of your energy. It shouldn't even be on the same subject
yeah,
because our vibrations where we just left it and we only just gave it over to God. So we're probably not
yes.
ready to like take it back. So it can be something so silly like petting your dog or taking a walk or baking cookies or do something that like if you're feeling
Yeah,
like surrendering feels so hard because control is a value that you have, then do something that you know you can control the outcome of. I
yeah,
bake. I bake because I can control the outcome.
right.
And I know that I have this amazing recipe for chocolate chip cookies that I will absolutely link in the show notes because they'll change your life and they work. You can make them with vegan ingredients, you can make them with gluten-free flour, you can make them traditionally, and they're amazing. And I know that if I cream together brown and white sugar with a cup of butter and add some flour and add vanilla and eggs and salt and baking powder, that something delicious is going to come together. And
Exactly.
it takes my mind off of the things that I previously thought I had control over, but have come to the realization I have decided to be guided about this issue and I'm handing it over.
Yes. Yes. It's like something you have to practice it. It's almost like you
Oh,
have to
yeah,
grow the muscle memory,
for sure.
because we as human beings, we're so stubborn, for lack of a better word. We just want to have things our way so much. We want to be in control.
Right?
And God forbid we just like, no, you take control. We don't, and we see it even in our relationships, just giving the next person in our lives control. We don't even want to do that. So
Right.
imagine how hard it is to give someone that you can see that, you know what I mean, the control and say, okay, Lord, you take control. And so it's something you really have to practice. You have to be intentional. And if it is you don't have that connection with God, it's even harder. It's even harder. Yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know it has nothing to do with the book, and it has everything to do with the book.
Yes.
Like, I love these conversations because they're not a 45-second commercial on why someone should
Yeah.
buy a book. They are, let me tell you about the human who picked up her pen and started writing, who felt like there was a void on a bookshelf and wanted to fill that. And I love that I know about the author. It's the author that makes me want to buy the book,
Yes.
right? So thank you for that. I would love to know how you are saying yes to yourself in this season.
So we've kind of touched on a lot of it already. I'm saying yes to myself in this season by being really intentional about achieving my goals. about stepping outside of my comfort zone and
Mm,
stretching myself. Trying to take on opportunities that are unlike things I've done before, but opportunities that I think are in the path that I was meant to walk on. And
mm,
so, for a lot of the things that I find myself doing, a lot of the engagements I find myself looking at, they look differently. They're unlike anything I've done in the past. And so it's challenging in one sense, but it's exciting at the same time
yeah,
because there's so much to learn, there's so much to experience, there's so much to explore. And so it's not about being perfect for me, right? Because we're
right.
never going to be perfect human beings. It's just really about growing and protecting my energy, my peace, my
Yeah.
time, and making sure that before I leave this earth, I have accomplished what the Almighty wanted me to accomplish.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so tell us about the book, about the your passion. I mean, it's not a passion project. I mean, it's your work, but what what led you to write the book and what are you hoping to accomplish with it?
So the book for me came about by just really being awakened in my own life.
Mm,
So I have two Gen Z children, and from time to time, they would ask me questions like, why aren't we taught this at school? Or how do we do this? Just life questions.
mm,
And so, it occurred to me, I'm like, yeah, why aren't y'all taught this at school? And it really brought me in tune with how unprepared these young people are for the workplace. And being in corporate myself, being working around other young people, seeing how they show up in the workplace, seeing how much they don't know, what they don't know. Uh, and at the same time, being exposed to all the myths about them, they're lazy, they're entitled, they're this, they're that. And it got me thinking. It really got me thinking. And like I said, it all came down to this guidance. One day it just came to me that, okay, you need to write a book that is a roadmap, that's a guide, that speaks directly to these young people to prepare them for the workplace, for the modern workplace. Something that gives them a voice, something that makes them feel like, okay, yes, you're a different generation. Don't be ashamed of who you are. You're smart, you're intelligent, you're capable of doing all the things that you're meant to do. You do things differently. So use the things that you know how to do, such as being an influencer or being, what I mean, like content creator, etc. Use that to become your side hustler, become your money maker. You don't have to go to college because college is not necessarily for everyone. And just really speak to them in a way that I don't think anybody really speaks to them. And
right.
so I got down to just writing the book, and then I nobody knew for a while I was doing it. It was just like my little private project. And then one day I shared it with my children. Hey, I'm writing a book, and they were like, "You're writing a book?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so I started getting them involved in the project, and I would share with
Mm,
them contents and have them give me feedback, and they would share with me. They're like, "Well, yeah, we don't think like that," or then they would start giving me input. And then, they have friends and I knew their friends. And so they would become part of the project. And it just really evolved into like a family project at one point.
mm,
Uh, and so I just kept on doing it. And once I started going, I was determined to see it to the end. And I kept going until I got it published. I published it last September. And
amazing.
after I published it, I knew I wanted to have audiobook. I knew there's a part of me, and I'm working on this right now. I want to have a screenplay, so I want to have it adapted into a screenplay. So that's something I'm having done right now because I really feel
Amazing.
like this can reach young people where they're at, just like a mini series.
Yeah.
And then, through reviews, etc., the book has really been caught on. And it's been catching on because I guess the voice, the way I speak, the clarity with which I speak to young people, that has been the one comment that has come forth over and over again. And so I see that as accomplishing our mission because I really wanted to speak to them in a way that they don't feel belittled. They don't feel like, okay, I'm talking down to them. They don't feel like I don't understand them. And so I'm really proud of
Oh my
that.
gosh, I'm so happy for you. And I love just knowing how it all unfolded because when we come to parenting, when you come to answering these kinds of questions of what's happening in the workplace, curiosity gets you so much further than writing another set of rules.
Yes.
I'm eager to know like what are some examples that you were noticing that are different? And I'm asking purely out of
Mhm.
curiosity. I am a lifelong entrepreneur, so I very spent a very short amount of time in a corporate situation. But that's just not where I live or thrive.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know how this is playing out in a corporate atmosphere. I certainly see just my style of parenting and my style of being in the world. I'm much older than you, and my child is much younger than yours. So I became um, a mother at 48.
Mm.
My daughter was born in China, and we brought her home when she was 2. So I was 46 when she was born, but I didn't know her then. So when you're parenting at the age of a grandparent, it's
Right.
a completely different situation. I'm obsessed. Like, I actually know things now. I mean, I thought I knew everything when I was 25, but now I really, really know. And
Yeah.
it feels so empowering and delightful to raise her. And I see already, how her interaction with more traditional systems, it's it's not a fit. And I recognize that it's not a fit for her, but I think I'm also seeing how it wasn't a fit for me.
Hmm.
But now I'm in a position that I could do something about someone's experience. I couldn't
Yes.
do anything about mine. So I'm wondering if there's some bit of that as well in the the way that you can so clearly see the experience of your children and see how the systems that were working before aren't working for them is because there's a little bit of you that the systems weren't working for either, which opened up the curiosity that made you see what you see now.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I think is the communication. The
Mm,
way that they communicate is totally different than the way the older generations communicate. Uh, I mean, go figure. They live on their phones, texting and DMing and everything else. So their communication style is more direct, it's more abrupt. They like emojis and they like apps like Slack. So they're doing Slack messages and, they don't want to spend time doing long emails. Emails for them is like, okay, an absolutely necessary, it has to be necessary. If we're talking back and forth, it's a short conversation. They'd rather have a Slack message. They'd rather have some kind of direct messaging. There's no point to them in writing an email to say, okay, I got the report and I'm working on it. You know, so
right.
they're just very much more, their communication style is totally different. And I think that's where you see the biggest breakdown because
Sure.
in an environment, in a lot of these workplaces, you may have as much as 5 generations working under the same roof.
Right.
And that's a big gap. That's a huge gap. You have you may have your boomers, your millennials,
Right.
and
And the
so
boomers
yeah,
don't want to do the email either. And so it's the guy in the middle is making all the rules and he's just pissed because no one's playing by them.
exactly. And so it's like, how do you, there has to be a bridge. They have to find a way to kind of like communicate and I talk about reverse mentorship where
Mm.
young people has to
Yes.
mentor the older generation, in all this new technology and then the older generation has to realize that they have a part to play in teaching them about the experience and what it means to be in a workplace and they have valuable things to bring too. So bringing them together is really important there. Outside of the communication, expectations.
Mm.
Young people come into the workplace, and for a lot of them, they come in not knowing what they don't know. So they may come in with high salary expectations. And as you know, and traditionally, you come in, you have to be worth it. You have to have so many years of experience. You have to prove yourself before you
Right.
can demand a certain salary. And for many of these young people, they know what they're capable of. They're judging it off of,
Mm.
okay, well, I know I can do this. I have the potential. But for some reason, the supervisor doesn't yet see that potential. So they don't want to compensate them for that. So there's a little bit of breakdown there too with that.
Mm.
Uh, Feedback. The younger people want instant feedback,
Ooh.
whilst the older generation, they want to wait once per year for a performance review, an annual review that's done once per year.
Yeah.
No, they want to know now. Well, how did that go? Did I do it well? What can I do better the next time? They don't want to wait 6 months to figure out what they did wrong. They want to know now. And so it's situations like these, where they just wanted it's just different dynamic. And in a lot of these corporate environments, they're trying to use the same old playbooks to lead this younger generation, and it's just not working. And so the young people come in, they become disengaged, they become disenchanted, and they don't stay around. A lot of
Right.
them leave within the first 1 to 2 years. They're
Sure.
going to move on to the next company where they feel like they're getting that. And so a lot of them quiet quit. We call it quiet quitting. They check out before they even sign out, like I like to say.
Yeah.
And it's an expensive problem for a lot of companies, right?
Right.
Because I mean, go figure, especially in certain industries. You bring these young people in, you spend money, you onboard them, you may train them, and then they leave within the first 1 to 2 years. Well, within that time, you haven't even gotten your return on investment yet. They haven't even started to really work.
Right.
So for a lot of companies, it's millions, and even it can even go into the billions, depending upon the industry. Like technology, where the salary is a little bit higher. I mean, if you have like 100 people leave within a year,
Right.
it's a huge amount. It hits the
Yeah.
bottom line. And so I really feel like companies have to become really diligent about, okay, what they're dealing with and understand that, all right, uh, these young people are different. They have a lot to offer. And how can we bring them to the fold? How can we make them feel like they belong? How can we give them a
Mm.
voice, right? While at the same time helping them to understand that you're coming into a workplace that already has standards and policies
Sure.
and make it in such a way that they feel like, all right, I want to be part of that. All right. They're the next generation. They're the next generation of leaders. They're the next wave of
Right.
leaders. So if we don't foster that,
Right.
who's going to lead?
Huh. It's so fascinating, and I have so many questions. I want to know, like, how, do you have some case studies? How has someone implemented these? And I'm wondering if you used any of the tricks that universities use, because they are constantly bringing in a new group of people who were at the top of the place they just left, and now they're entering at the bottom. And it's a pretty, I mean, it's only
Yeah.
4 years before they're at the top again, which is way quicker than it happens in a corporate environment. So I'm just wondering, are there some practices and just ways of doing things that are similar to higher education? That I'm just trying to think of, what is there another example of a wave of incoming people who came from the place where they knew everything and now they know nothing, but they're going to leave knowing. quote unquote everything again.
Yeah. I really think that that depends upon the industry, you're talking about. I would think like in tech and SaaS industries where, technology is standard and you know, if you know the technology, you know the technology, so you can afford to move from one place to the next and kind of like fit in.
Yeah.
It might be a different dynamic in terms of how they do things, but I see that, you can still get involved, you can still get your foot in the door and work your way up the chain. Uh, for me, I really feel like the problem needs to be solved at the manager level,
Hmm.
training the managers to learn how to deal with these young people because they're the ones that deal with them on a day to day. I mean, go figure, you train them on safety, you train them on new software, you train them on everything else, but you never train them how to lead this new generation. So there's a lot of conflict, there's a lot of butting heads, there's a lot of, okay, they are just as frustrated as the young people are frustrated. And so that's where I feel like it needs to start. Train those managers to learn to work with them, communicate with them, and that's going to go a long way to helping bridging that gap. And then it needs to go even further. I feel like CEOs need to become involved. They don't need to just become involved once they see their bottom line being hit, which is when most of them are just now aware that there's a problem. They
Sure.
need to be involved earlier. They need from time to time to meet with these young people, have a town hall, have, some form of discussion as to, okay, how are things going? Give them a chance to speak with senior leadership, right? Some young people they don't even know who senior leadership is because they
Hmm.
never get a chance to meet them. And so that goes a long way to building trust. That goes a long way to make them feel like, okay, someone is listening to me, that I have a voice here. They can see the potential. Okay, one day I can possibly be in this position. They feel like they have an avenue to advocate for themselves.
Hmm.
If something does come up, okay, at the next town hall meeting, I can have a word with the CEO. I can bring this topic up.
Right.
And so that doesn't happen right now in a lot of places. And simple things like those, I think, will go a long way to just kind of helping to solve some of the simple issues that they're having. But it takes time. It takes a different mindset. It takes,
Hmm.
getting in there and really working with them and helping them to understand that it's not a generation problem. It's not a Gen Z problem, essentially. It's really you. I like to say just a communication. It comes down to communication. That's at the crux of
Right.
it. Whether it's written, verbal, oral, it's just miscommunication.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So is the book um, directed toward people in the organization? Is it directed toward the young person going to work? Is it a mashup so that everyone is getting the perspective of the other as they're reading it?
So the book was written, it's written, the voice, you read it speaks directly to the young person.
Okay.
But it's also written in a way that if you're a manager or an employer and you read this book, it really kind of puts you in the mindset and at the same time give you cues as to how it is you can work with these young people. Same thing for educators. So it can be used by employers and educators to really give them insight as to how it is they can then understand these young people because I speak to young people and I say, okay, this is how you show up. All right. So it's helping them to understand how they're showing up. And don't be afraid to show up this way. But even if you're showing up this way, you still need to be this way. You still need to be professional. You still need to be all right. And so I really feel like it can be used by all three of those sets of people. But I really wanted to be an advocate for the young person so that they can feel like, okay, someone understands me and someone is actually trying to guide me. And you don't
Yes.
have to feel as lost. All right. And try to understand and answer some of the questions that they may have going into it. It deals with financial management, it deals with mental health, it deals with setting up a plan, a career development plan. It has assessments in it, that allows them to take those assessments and understand what's their work style like,
Right.
what's their financial, how well do they currently manage money or how much do they understand? Uh, it talks about AI and technology, and it just really is like a all-rounded, really touching on all the different issues and situations that I think that they can possibly encounter.
Oh, it's such a helpful tool. I'm really grateful that it is available and that the way that you wrote it so collaboratively is, I'm sure, a part of the impact of how it's being received.
Yes.
And so tell us how well it's being received for two reasons, because I'm super excited for you and I want you to practice basking in the spotlight of doing something big and bold and impactful. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. So the book has been reviewed by multiple reviewers. It's gotten raving reviews, five-star reviews on Amazon, by Literary Titan. It's actually received an award by Literary Titan. Uh,
Congratulations.
it's been featured in, so far, LA Weekly, New York Weekly. It has a lot of good things on the horizon coming up, where it's going to be featured at certain book fairs, international book fairs, the Frankfurt Book Fair, the London Book Fair, the LA Times Book Festival. It's also going to be featured in the New York Times Book Review. Uh, you
It's
know,
so
um,
exciting.
it has, we've been on TV to speak about it on PA Live. And so, there's several interviews lined up to talk about the book. And so it's just really, really picking up momentum. And I feel like it has a long way to go. It
Right,
has much work to do in terms of making the impact that I really wanted to make. I wanted to really make a global impact, to be used by young people everywhere in the world. It's not just written for, just the US.
right.
And so currently it's just available in English, but the hope is that one day it would be available in other languages. It is going to be available as an audiobook for those who just like to listen. And, you know, again, one day, the hope is that you will see it as a miniseries on either the TV or Netflix or Hulu or one of these. So,
Speak it, Queen. I love it. We're turning thoughts to things around here. I love it. What did your kids say about it?
my kids, I must say that they're pretty proud.
Good.
They're pretty proud about it, but my kids are like me. They're very humble.
Mhm.
So they wouldn't like, they're very encouraging. Every time I tell them something new about the book, they congratulate me. They keep motivating me to keep on keeping on. Uh, in fact, my daughter is featured on the front cover of the book. So, she's a part of it through and through.
Right.
Uh, and so
It's
I make them part of the journey. It's
yeah.
like I said, it's a family affair. My husband, he's involved, and we really, I don't just make it about me and me getting all
Mhm.
the glory, but I share it with them, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Right. It's so beautiful. Yay. I love talking to you. I love hearing this beautiful impact. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can get the book, all the good things.
So the book is currently available on Amazon, Goodreads, all the popular platforms, Barnes and Nobles, Ingram Sparks. If you love to learn more about me and the book and, see my interviews, etc., you can visit my author website. It's on www.authorgiselle.com. I also have social media, again, author Giselle. You can find me on Instagram. I'm on X, Facebook. And so, please check them out and feel free to drop me a line.
Perfect. We will link everything down in the show notes. Thank you so much, Giselle. I loved this conversation.
Thank you so much, Wendy. It's been a pleasure and I really enjoyed our talk.